Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Money Mantra Off the Charts. This is an amazing series which just helps people work through the mental and emotional blockages that they have surrounding money. This is really to shift your paradigm and to put you in a different space. If you haven't heard these ideas before, I want you to get comfortable with them because they are literally what have made so many people rich and wealthy throughout hundreds of years, literally hundreds of years. This is a limited series that I'm doing right now called The Science of Getting Rich. But before that, if you guys have not seen the first video, just make sure that you send me a text or DM because those videos are not live. But for some very special people, I am willing to give you the information because it is extremely relevant. Also, if you guys are not following me on Instagram, make sure you check me out at Money Mantra Cha. That's on Instagram, MoneyMantracha. Also, if you're not subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you comment, and make sure you hit the notification bell just so you are aware when I do go live and when I do post specials like this. So, today we are going to be continuing our series, limited series on the science of getting rich by Wallace D. Wattles. Right now, if you guys have not heard about that book, make sure you write it down, right? Write it down because this is something that you're going to want to read. This is something that you're going to want to listen to the audiobook to, which I prefer audiobooks because I'm always busy. But the information is just like, wow. It's like if somebody never told you something, how would you actually know that that thing was there? And this book was written 108 years ago, apparently, right? It was written 108 years ago, and it talks about the science of getting rich. Thank you so much for dropping that in the chat. It talks about the science of getting rich. And last week we talked about the right to be rich, which just letting you know that you were essentially born rich. The conditions that were placed on you in your life were not your fault. I say this all the time. You didn't choose your name. You didn't choose where you were going to be living, right? You didn't choose the language you were going to speak. So how could you possibly choose your financial situation? Right. But now that we're older and we have this awareness that we can choose what we want, we can shift our paradigms and ideas about money. We can throw away the old stuff and plug ourselves in with new stuff. It's just amazing to have that revelation and to be in that space. So the right to be rich just says that every single person has the right to be rich. There's no gatekeeper to wealth. And although society will make you think that, it's not true at all. It's really not true. You can create your own reality by changing your thoughts. Because the thoughts you put into your mind are what's going to make your body move, and your body is going to give you the daily results that you get. Now, today's chapter is actually about the science of getting rich, which is the title of the book. So this will be a loaded call, tons of gems, tons of information. But of course, before we dive into it, we're going to go ahead and actually listen to that track. It's about 6 minutes long. And I really want you guys to just write as fast as you can. Take some notes. Again, if you are interested in the playback, just send me a text message. But I'm going to play it. And again, you do have the option to listen to this on Apple Music as well, Spotify. And if you've listened to it before the call, perfect. But for those who have not had a chance to hear it yet, without further ado, this is The Science of Getting Rich, chapter 2 of the book. And then we're going to go ahead and dive in and talk about what we heard Mr. Wattles D. Wattles say. So let's cue this up. And here we go.
Chapter 2. There is a science of getting rich. There is a science of getting rich, and it is an exact science, like algebra or arithmetic. There are certain laws which govern the process of acquiring riches. Once these laws are learned and obeyed by any man, he will get rich with mathematical certainty. The ownership of money and property comes as a result of doing things in a certain way. Those who do things in this certain way, whether on purpose or accidentally, get rich, while those who do not do things in this certain way, no matter how hard they work or how able they are, remain poor. It is a natural law that like causes always produce like effects, and therefore any man or woman who learns to do things in this certain way will infallibly get rich. That the above statement is true is shown by the following facts. Getting rich is not a matter of environment, for if it were, all the people in certain neighborhoods would become wealthy. The people of one city would all be rich, while those of other towns would all be poor. Or the inhabitants of one state would roll in wealth, while those of an adjoining state would be in poverty. But everywhere we see rich and poor living side by side in the same environment, and often engaged in the same vocations. When two men are in the same locality and in the same business, and one gets rich while the other remains poor, it shows that getting rich is not primarily a matter of environment. Some environments may be more favorable than others, but when two men in the same business are in the same neighborhood and one gets rich while the other fails, it indicates that getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain way. And further, the ability to do things in this certain way is not due solely to the possession of talent. For many people who have great talent remain poor, while others who have very little talent get rich. Studying the people who have got rich, we find that they are an average lot in all respects, having no greater talents and abilities than other men. It is evident that they do not get rich because they possess talents and abilities that other men have not, but because they happen to do things in a certain way. Getting rich is not the result of saving or thrift. Many very penurious people are poor, while free spenders often get rich. Nor is getting rich due to doing things which others fail to do. For two men in the same business often do almost exactly the same things, and one gets rich while the other remains poor or becomes bankrupt. From all these things, we must come to the conclusion that getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain way. If getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain way, and if like causes always produce like effects, then any man or woman who can do things in that way can become rich, and the whole matter is brought within the domain of exact science. The question arises here whether this certain way may not be so difficult that only a few may follow it. This cannot be true, as we have seen so far as natural ability is concerned. Talented people get rich, and blockheads get rich. Intellectually brilliant people get rich, and very stupid people get rich. Physically strong people get rich, and weak and sickly people get rich. Some degree of ability to think and understand is, of course, essential. But insofar natural ability is concerned, any man or woman who has sense enough to read and understand these words can certainly get rich. Also, we have seen that it is not a matter of environment. Location counts for something. One would not go to the heart of the Sahara and expect to do successful business. Getting rich involves the necessity of dealing with men and of being where there are people to deal with. And if these people are inclined to deal in the way you want to deal, so much the better. But that is about as far as environment goes. If anybody else in your town can get rich, so can you. And if anybody else in your state can get rich, so can you. Again, it is not a matter of choosing some particular business or profession. People get rich in every business and in every profession, while their next door neighbors in the same vocation remain in poverty. It is true that you will do best in a business which you like and which is congenial to you. And if you have certain talents which are well developed, you will do best in a business which calls for the exercise of those talents. Also, you will do best in a business which is suited to your locality. An ice cream parlor would do better in a warm climate than in Greenland, and a salmon fishery will succeed better in the Northwest than in Florida, where there are no salmon. But aside from these general limitations, getting rich is not dependent upon your engaging in some particular business, but upon your learning to do things in a certain way. If you are now in business and anybody else in your locality is getting rich in the same business while you are not getting rich, it is because you are not doing things in the same way that other person is doing them. No one is prevented from getting rich by lack of capital. True, as you get capital, the increase becomes more easy and rapid, but one who has capital is already rich and does not need to consider how to become so. No matter how poor you may be, if you begin to do things in a certain way, you will begin to get rich and you will begin to have capital. The getting of capital is a part of the process of getting rich, and it is a part of the result which invariably follows the doing of things in a certain way. You may be the poorest man on the continent and be deeply in debt. You may have neither friends, influence, nor resources. But if you begin to do things in this way, you must infallibly begin to get rich, for like causes must produce like effects. If you have no capital, you can get capital. If you are in the wrong business, you can get into the right business. If you are in the wrong location, you can go to the right location. And you can do so by beginning in your present business and in your present location to do things in the certain way which causes success.
All right, that was amazing. You guys can go ahead and just drop your comments of what you heard him say or what you actually took away from that. And then, of course, I'm going to get into my explanation of it as well. Now, I love the fact that this chapter is called The Science of Getting Rich because science is so exact, science is so precise. And science and spirituality always seem to go head to head like they're two different things, but it's really just having a deeper understanding of how things work and then being able to understand that you won't understand how other things work, right? Now, as I'm waiting for you guys to drop your comments in the chat, the greatest thing about knowing that there is a science to getting rich is the fact that there is a science to getting rich. It's not something that's mythical and it's not something that's bestowed only upon a select few people. Like that's really the best part about that. Like knowing that you can take certain steps or do certain things to mimic what other people have done in the past and you will be able to get similar results. So, yes, do things a certain way, right? And there's an exact way to do it because there's a science behind it. Like he said, getting rich is not an accident. It's not a matter of location. It's not a matter of who you know. It's a matter of, well, it is a matter of who you know, but it's just a matter of doing things in a very specific way to get the result that you're seeking. So we have do things in a certain way, and also the art of repetition. Is interesting to hear this because in IM we heard this a lot. I see how our ego keeps us from submitting to a person when we are submitting to the knowledge, like eating the fruit of knowledge. Exactly, right? You really are just submitting to a process. They say be submissive to the information, and it's not saying you're submissive, but it's saying that if you can, like you said, remove your ego and understand that we're telling you to do these things and you'll get these results, then you will be much better off, right? Now, the easiest analogy, because I was trying to think of an analogy for this, is when you get dressed, right? How do you put on your pants, right? You guys can drop that in the chat. How do people typically put on their pants, right? There's a certain way to do that. You're going to do it one leg at a time, right? And essentially, that's the science of putting on your pants because if you do that same thing every time, you're going to get your pants on, right? And it's going to be a fit, right? There's a science to driving, right? You have to literally put your foot on the gas in order for the car to accelerate. You have to put your foot on the brake in order for the brake to stop. You have to use your mirrors in order to be able to see the cars around you, and if you don't do these things, you're probably not going to have a positive driving experience. You're probably not even going to be driving if you're not following those specific set of rules. Now, me personally, I'm a chef. I like to cook, and there's just a certain way that you make certain things. Like to cook eggs, I could not cook my egg before I scrambled. I couldn't cook my egg before I cracked it, right? And I couldn't crack the egg without the chicken first laying the egg, right? There's a whole process to this thing, right? But it's as simple as I have to crack the egg before I can cook it. There's no in between, right? If I'm going to be scrambling the egg, right? Because of course you can boil it. Also, let's just say you're making spaghetti, right? You can't just put the noodles in the pot. You have to put the water in the pot, right? And then you have to put the pasta in the pot once it's reached a certain temperature so that the noodles can become tender, right? There's a science to cooking, right? It's so precise. It just makes sense. Now, like I said, getting rich is not something that is it's a mystery. It's something that a lot of people have done. There are a lot of books, and I recommend another book that I really love is called Tools of Titans. And I always forget who's the author, but it basically follows a bunch of the richest people in the world. They're millionaires, they're billionaires, and it's just telling you what their daily habits are. Like the book is literally thick, like a really thick high school or college book, but it's really just habits that rich people have. Right now, all these people in this book are rich, but they are all in different professions. Like the guy in the audiobook said, different people in different professions, ages, races, like all different types of people become rich. Now, if it was just about race, then all of a certain race will be rich. If it was just about class, then all of a certain class will be rich. If it was just about the cut, like any one little thing, where you live at, right? Everybody in this neighborhood is going to be rich. Then all those people will be rich, but it's not about that. It's what those people actually did to get those things, right? They did the same things, right? Now, I want to ask you guys, what are some habits of rich people that you've heard over and over and over and over again? Right now, for myself, I'll say, let me make sure I'm saying all panelists and attendees, like getting up early, right? I've heard so many rich people say that they get up, yes, having a morning routine, getting up early, they read, right? They exercise, right? They're kind to people, right? They're generous, they're consistent. Now, if willingness to learn, right? Flexibility, sociable, they have to be a likable person, right? You can get so far in business, but if you want to get even further, right, and make an impact on more of your business in the world, you really do have to be kind to people, right? We got some good things in the chat. Have expectations, right? Now, this is a really good list, and I'm just going to read it over for the people who are taking notes, right? We said rich people have a morning routine, right? Rich people read, rich people get up early, rich people have a willingness to learn, they have expectations, right? And they follow their expectations, right? Now, that is really amazing. Now, if you want to be a rich person, are you aligning yourself with one or any of these things, right? If you are aligning yourself with any of these things of what it takes to be rich, go ahead and drop some sevens in the chat, right? Just drop some sevens in the chat. Oh, it is 222. Let's get it. Let's get it. Happy 222. So you have to understand that if you know these things and you have these things in your awareness, you just have to continue to do them. If you're already doing these things, you just have to continue to do them, right? It only makes sense. It only makes sense. Now, you may be only doing one of these things. Maybe you only have a morning routine, but you never find time to read, right? Maybe you have a willingness to learn, but you haven't learned anything new in a while, right? You have to do everything, right? Not just some things in order to get the best results, right? You have to do everything and not just some things. And Jordan said, this is where auto suggestion comes into play. Now, if you know me, you know that auto suggestion is my favorite topic in the world, right? Auto suggestion is my favorite topic in the world because you learn by hearing, right? You learn by hearing. You learn by hearing. So the things you say to yourself are what you're going to believe. And not just what you say to yourself, but also what you hear. So you have to make sure if you're on this path and you're doing these things that rich people do, you continue to bring these things into your life and you continue to tell yourself what it is that you want as well. Because another thing that we left off the list is that all of these rich people chose to be rich, right? And I'm gonna need everybody to drop in the chat, I choose to be rich, right? I choose to be rich because once you make that decision, all you got to do is figure out how to do it. And let me drop it in the chat. I choose to be rich. I choose to be rich. Why? Because I can. And I know that there's a way to do it. It's not like I'm saying I'm going to be the first half man, half android. Like, I don't know if there's a way to do that. I don't know. Science is moving kind of fast these days, but I know that there's a way to get rich, right? That's something more viable. Even like you said, if you're going to make this decision or choose to get rich, just start to make it make sense. Okay, now you know you want to get rich, you made the decision. How are you going to do it? Right? Are you going to sit there and fantasize it about, are you going to sit there and fantasize about it all day? Or are you going to start to create these habits and start to do things a certain way? Right? Everybody should have a morning routine, right? Your morning routine should, of course, it should consist of you reading your auto suggestion, right? And I'm so happy that you brought that up, Jordan, because that is so key, right? And for people who aren't familiar with the concept of auto suggestion, it is one of the chapters in the book Think and Grow Rich, and it talks about how what you repetitiously hear. I don't know why I can't speak today, y'all. What you repetitiously hear and what you repetitiously see and tell yourself is exactly what is going to become your reality. It's exactly what's going to become your reality. Now, a lot of times we feel like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. And it's not because we can't do those things, because we can do anything, right? We're limitless beings, but it's because every time you told somebody, the idea was automatically shut down. Every time you got a little bit further with something, the project wasn't supported. Every time you tried, you failed, right? Every single time you tried, you failed. So now the association that you have with success is, if I try, I'm going to fail. So when it comes up in your mind, you're automatically telling yourself this isn't going to work out. Hence, that's the results that you're creating for yourself, right? So you have to be mindful, because one of the things that I heard in life that was so profound is that you spend more time with yourself than anybody else, right? You spend more time with yourself than anybody else. So you have to be mindful of what you say when you're alone, because people say, "Oh yeah, I'm talking to myself." It's like you really are talking to yourself. That's what you're going to hear, and that's what you're going to believe, and that's what you're going to feel, because your words are more powerful than what anybody else could say to you, because you're hearing it not only when you say it, but it's also replaying over and over and over again in your head. Now, if you've ever found yourself like, "Oh, I am depressed," or I'm feeling depressed, or I'm not feeling like myself, you really just have to shift and change the thoughts that you are thinking about, because you can choose your thoughts. And most of the time, what we're thinking is not even true or going to happen. So we just create all this anxiety, right? Or hyper awareness of something that we think we know what's going to happen, but we don't, right? So instead of focusing on what we can't control and giving ourselves anxiety, let's focus on what we can control, which is ourselves. Like when people say have self control, it's not just about being able to hold yourself back, it's about literally knowing that you are a being, right, that can be programmed and reprogrammed as many times as you need to. And Spicy said, find your voice. That's extremely important, because once you find out who it is that you are and what it is that you want, nothing can stop that, because you haven't just shifted your external environment, you've shifted your internal programming, right? And if you're literally like, think about if everybody literally was, which they are, everybody is their own world. Everybody is their own ecosystem. Every single person is their own reality, literally. So if you're creating a positive reality for yourself and you're telling yourself, I live a positive reality, right? Even if it's not true today, but you got to tell yourself this so that you can program it, right? You got to tell yourself this so that you can program yourself to believe it, right? And you may not believe it at first because that's not your internal programming. It's not in your current paradigm to accept the things that you're saying to yourself, but you have to get in the habit of becoming hyper aware of these things, right? And not being anxious about them, but being aware. Like, I can change this. And I actually don't want to think about being sad right now. I actually don't want to think about being broke right now. I actually don't want to think about this last person who broke up with me. I actually don't want to think about family drama right now. Okay, so don't, literally do not, right? And it can be hard to shift our thoughts, but it's something that you're going to have to do, because that is one of the things, right? A part of the science of getting rich. You have to shift your thoughts. And the first step to that is literally becoming aware of the thoughts that you're having. Like, what are the most repetitive thoughts that you have throughout the day? Are they more positive, or are they more negative? Right? And are the results that you see in your life more positive and more negative? Right? And can you find a correlation between those things? So if you can find a correlation between majority of positive thoughts is giving you positive results, and a majority of negative thoughts is giving you negative results, just drop some sevens in the chat, right? Because another thing that he mentioned in his book is that like will always attract like. So I never really understood that quote for the longest time. I didn't understand that quote for the longest time, but then I was like, wow, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. Like, and I was like, this is crazy. And it just made me look at all the situations that was happening to me in a completely different way. It's like, wow, as much as, and this is where a lot of people have a problem, you have to admit what's wrong in your programming so that you can fix it, right? If your laptop had, yeah, when I think positive, I work better. Exactly. If your laptop had an issue, or even better, your cell phone, right? If your cell phone screen went black, what would you do? Right? And I'm gonna just need somebody to drop it in the chat. If your cell phone screen went black in the middle of your day, what would you do? Right? I know me, because I work from my phone, I would panic. It's like I would really panic. I would be like, I need to Google this right now. I need to get to a computer, right? I need to do something to figure out what is wrong with my phone, right? Like Elle says, she would charge it. It could be dead, or it could really be an issue, right? In the same way that you treat that device, right, when it dies, or when it has an issue, or when it needs an update, because I know I'm notorious for making sure my phone is updated. You need to do the same exact thing to your internal programming, because that's another part of the science of getting rich, right? You have to be focused on getting better. You really have to be focused on getting better, because I say this all the time and I love it, right? It was a gem from the Digital Dash call, which is happening tonight at 8 p.m., right? You have survived 100% of your bad days, right? And you really have to appreciate that. Just appreciate what you've been through, where you came from, so that you can actively focus on getting rich, right? In The Right to Be Rich, which is chapter 1, he said there should be nothing else that you are focused on other than getting rich, right? And it's not saying forget your family. It's not saying forget your friends. It's not saying forget everything. It's saying that this is more important, because if you can figure this out, you can figure out everything else, right? Because this is something that a lot of people have an issue with. It's not too many millionaires in the world, right? It's not too many billionaires in the world. Like it's hundreds of thousands, but that's not a lot, because there are billions of people in the world. Like I would expect there to be at least a few billionaires, like with as much money that's been made. Like people are really still living in poverty because they don't know the science of getting rich, right? Like when a baby is getting dressed, right? Like a kid that's getting dressed, they may put their pants on wrong. They may put their shoes on the wrong feet, right? They may put their shirt on their pants, right? They just may be doing things crazy because they don't understand how to get dressed. They don't understand that. But it's actually a way to put your shirt on the correct way. There's a way to put your pants on. There's a way to put your shoes on the right feet and tie your shoes and to walk out the house looking presentable. But if you don't know that, how can you do it? And it's literally the same thing when it comes to getting rich. If you don't know that there's an exact way to do it, how could you possibly be on the path to start to do it? Right? It just doesn't make any sense. But I'm so grateful for everybody on this call, because you guys are hearing something that you probably heard before, right? Or it could be something that you never heard before, but either way, it's a fact of life, right? I'm going to continue to say this, and I want you to say this to yourself every time you feel like getting rich is not for you or it's too hard. There is no gatekeeper to wealth, right? The only gatekeeper is God, right? And if you do it the right way, right, you follow the science of getting rich, you're going to have everything that you could think of, right? But even more, right? Because the universe is so great that your mind can't even fathom some of the things that you can create from your mind. Like you can't even fathom the amount of unlimited, like once you tap into the science of getting rich, right? Once you tap into that energy, there's no way that your life will not be blessed beyond measure, right? And remember, auto suggestion, that's something you have to say to yourself. And even when you don't believe it, say it until you do believe it. Because again, you didn't know your name was your name until somebody called you that. We don't even know how many times. We cannot count. But we just know from the day you was born, from even before you were in the womb, right? They were calling you that name. Oh, this is my baby. This is my baby. This is my baby. Now you born. This is my baby. This is your name. And they call you by your name until you start to answer to that, because that's your name, right? So we have to do the same thing with our affirmations. If you guys have not had a chance to check out the Cosmic Club's Instagram today, make sure you go over to IG and check out the Cosmic Club to create your own custom affirmation. Make sure you post it in the comments so we could respond to you. But it's all about what you tell yourself. And I tell myself that every day. And I've been telling myself that for a while. Like it's been countless days. Like you may start to count the days and be like, it's been 30 days. I don't see results. It's been 51 days. But eventually you have to keep saying it until you believe it. Like you have to literally say, I am rich. Like that's your name. Like they really gonna be like, hey Jordan, Jordan, Jordan. You gonna be like, oh, huh, I thought my name was rich. Like, cause that's what I've been telling myself. Like that's really the type of energy that you have to have. Like, and you got to get excited about it because it's the feeling that's attached to it, right? And that is a part of the science of getting rich. It's the thought and it's the feeling. Like when you tell yourself, I'm gonna be rich, do you just be like, I'm gonna be rich one day? Or do you be like, it's about to be lit? It's about to be lit. When I go to Dubai, I'm about to be with the lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, like, because that's how excited I be when I talk about getting rich. Because when I get excited, like I literally just, I really feel warm and tingly inside. And you gotta feel it now, because when you get there, you think the feeling just gonna come. Oh, now all of a sudden you rich, you just all of a sudden now you happy now. Like, no, you have to be associated with that feeling. So when it gets there, it literally just feels. Yes, I love it. Jordan money. Okay. Okay, I'm with it. I'm with it. But no, you literally have to tell yourself these things until you believe it and really fake it until you make it. Like fake it until you make it. That's what I had to do because I really used to be like, I am so happy and grateful now that I am rich. But I was like, what is this? I don't even sound like if I was really rich and happy and grateful, that's not how I would sound. But today, I really believe that with my whole heart that that's what's for me. Like I'm telling y'all, don't be surprised when you see me with the tigers in Dubai. Like that's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, it's just really amazing when you have the awareness of these things and you know that you know what, if I could change the way I think, I could change the way I live, right? If I could change the way I live, I can change the future of like the lives of so many people who are not aware of this information, right? And it's not even nothing that's too, as the spiritual people say, woo woo. Like it's not even too. It's just literally was really facts. Like it's really just facts. It's facts. How many people like you can go through a list of all the great people that have done anything, and they have these things in common, right? Another thing that they all have, which I'm not going to forget to mention, he didn't say this in the book, but the importance of having a coach or a mentor is something that all great people have, right? People always talk about how great Michael Jordan is, but who's his coach? Like people always talk about how great some people sing, right? But who was their coach, right? They had to have some mentors and teachers along the way that really got them to that point. So if you want to be the greatest, I think somebody mentioned this earlier, like you really have to have a humbleness about it because knowing this information doesn't make you better than anybody, but it definitely makes you more blessed, right? Because you have the awareness that not only can you change your life, but you can change the lives of so many people just by telling them something. Like you could be feeling real good one day and just tell somebody that be working at the cashier, the register, and just be like, "Did you know you could think and grow rich, sis?" She gonna be like, "What?" But you gonna be like, "No, for real." Like, did you ever notice? Like, you really can have practical conversations about this and really just shift people's whole lives, and that's just amazing, right? And again, that's the science of getting rich. It's not just going to impact you; it's going to impact everybody. It's not just going to impact your family, because guess what? The people that you impact, they're going to go out and impact people, right? Whether directly or indirectly. So it's just so important that we understand that this thing is not hard. It's not hard. It's just a little bit repetitive, right? It's a little bit redundant, but that's okay because that's how life is most days, right? Every day isn't going to be the greatest day of your life, but you will have some amazing days which you should look forward to and appreciate as well, right? And something else I really want to point out that Mr. Wattles D. Wattles wrote in this book is that most people, like, and I don't know if y'all caught this, he said most people that get rich are average, right? They're ordinary, right? They don't necessarily have a special talent, right? Or gift or skill. But these ordinary people do extraordinary things, right? And extraordinary is just extraordinary, right? That's how you spell it. It's extraordinary. So we just did a little bit more, right? Maybe we just read one more book, right? Maybe we just stayed up one more hour later to stay on the charts to really. Maybe blockheads get rich too. Exactly. He definitely said that. Maybe you stay up a little bit later while everybody else is going to sleep to I don't know, send out some more applications, to work on your content a little bit more, to launch a little bit harder, to study the charts a little bit more. Maybe you just do a little bit more. So guess what? Now you're getting better results. Because not only are you pushing yourself to do a little bit more, but you're continuously stretching your mind. And remember, in chapter one, the right to grow rich, in order to be rich, you have to pay attention to all parts of yourself equally, mind, body, and spirit. And if you're stretching your mind every single day, right? Because now you got the time to do it. That's amazing. Like you are again already on the path to getting rich. So no matter where you are right now, things can turn around, right? And you can even write that down. Things can turn around, right? Things will turn around because I say so, right? I say the only way we don't know the future is if we don't plan the future, right? And of course, the cliche saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So if you know today, I'm telling you today, I can change my life by changing my thoughts. Then the first thing you should be thinking is, I'm going to change my thoughts, right? And I don't want you to get mad at yourself as thoughts of things come up, situations, people, circumstances. Don't get mad. Just be like, that's my old paradigm. Like, just really tell yourself, like, or like, I really be talking to myself like, you really gonna bring that up right now? No, shut it down. Like, I'm not doing that, right? And then I just replace it, right? Because the easiest way to get rid of the negative thought patterns and process is to replace them with positive thoughts. So if you always thinking I'm not good enough, or if you always have the common thought, this isn't going to work, this isn't too hard, start telling yourself this is like, instead of saying this isn't going to work, because you can literally choose what you want to think, just say this is going to work in my favor. Like, instead of choosing fear, like, why not choose faith? Like, you really have the option. Instead of saying I'm not good enough, say I'm better than I was before, right? You just need to change the way you speak to yourself, and you really will change the results that you're getting in your life. And that is so amazing. Like, I love the fact that this is not something that is like just so sacred or unknown or deep or new, right? Like, this is not a new concept, and we are so blessed to that we don't gotta figure this out because somebody already did it. So it's also about not reinventing the wheel, right? It's about doing things a certain way. If it's been done before, just do it. Oh, I don't want to get up early. I'm not a morning person. Guess what? You're not a rich person either. Pick one. Pick one. So it's like, really pick one. So you really have to pick and choose your battles. And the person that you want to be is not the person that you are right now, or you would be there already, right? You would have everything you wanted because you would know everything you needed to know because you were doing everything that you were supposed to do. Like he said, it may be a journey to get rich the first time, but once you figure out how to do it, you're not going to have a problem doing it again. Like, drop some sevens in the chat if you've ever seen millionaires say the first million was the hardest to make, the first 100,000 was the hardest to make, but after that they was multiplying their money like this because now they know what to do. The first time they had to figure it out, they probably didn't have anybody rich that was in their family until they started to seek that information or to seek business mentors. They didn't have it. So it took them longer to get there. But once they figured it out, they was like, are you telling me all I had to do was, and they're not even sure what they did. That's why they go harder too. And drop some more sevens in the chat if every time you see somebody win, they go harder the next time. Because they was like, nah, turn me up, God. Like, turn me up. Like, I know Drake is like that. I remember when I was, and I'm using Drake because when I was in graduate school, for my entertainment business masters, I had wrote a paper on just like his business strategies, and I was just looking at his record, and he literally would be the number one person every year, but he was only outdoing himself. Like, first his record was like number 9 on the charts, then it was number 8, then it was number 7, then it was number 6, and then once he got to number 1, it was like always number 1. And I'm like, yo, it's really you versus you in this thing. Like, nobody goes to bed at you at night with your thoughts unless you're listening to an audiobook, which I highly recommend for positive programming. You guys can listen to The Science of Getting Rich on repeat while you sleep. It's not doing any harm to you. It's literally doing a lot of good because your mind is still working even when your body's not. And remember, mind, body, soul, we have to do it all. So I really encourage y'all, like you gotta do it. Listen to the audiobooks while you're sleeping. Like, your life is going to change dramatically faster because your programming is changing faster. Like, I used to work at Verizon, and some people's phones used to take longer to update than other people's phones, right? But some would be so quick and instant, and I would be like, this is amazing, right? And then some, it would just be a lot more stuff to transfer. So it would be like, all right, well, we still gonna get it done in a reasonable time. So you will be surprised to see the changes that happen when your programming changes. And that's what really this is all about. Understanding that the way that you were programmed is not the way that you're supposed to be. Like, everything we do, even down to getting dressed, is completely unnatural, right? Everything we do is completely unnatural. It's not how people are supposed to be. Because honestly, if we were just still very primitive, and some civilizations are like, we would literally wake up, we would use the bathroom, we would look for food, we would spend time with our the closest people to us, right? Our family and friends. We would probably laugh, we would probably cry, like, but we wouldn't be stressed about much, right? Life would be much, 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 much simpler if we did not have these things to worry about. Right? It would be much simpler if we did not have these things to worry about, but that's not how we are. We're very complex people. We're very getting into a more state of self-awareness. More people are waking up. More people are entering these spaces. More people are having these conversations. Right? It's modern living. Right? We living in a different world, and it's really, I always say this all the time to any situation, but it's your world, girl. Like it literally is. It literally is. So you really have the option, and I'm just need to beat that in your head. You have the option to think what you think. And if you think it's something that you don't want to think and you find yourself getting into a mood, why would you do that? Like literally just start asking yourself, like, start, and I say this a lot too, your future self is a separate person from who you are right now. So treat that person with respect, right? And whenever you feel yourself tripping and you in a mood you don't like, have your future self talk to yourself now and be like, girl, why is you tripping? How you think you gonna get to these riches if you sitting there acting like, how you really think you're supposed to get it if you're not out here trying to get it, right? Your future self want to meet you so bad, right? Your future self want to meet you so bad, right? But you have to be just as willing to meet them because they ready. They are ready, right? And it's going to take changing a lot of things, and it starts with your thoughts. It really starts with your thoughts because you don't really have that much to worry about. You just need to be more self-aware. You need to understand that there's a science to getting rich, so you might as well try. Some people study the science of the mind. Some people study the science of, I don't know, a lot of things, but few people study the science of getting rich. That's why few people are rich. You, my friend, are very lucky to be here, right? You're very lucky to be here. So I highly encourage you to just get out there and have as many conversations with as many people as possible because it's just about literally impact and changing lives. This is the type of stuff that I talk to people about. When I'm out driving, I literally, this is the type of stuff I talk to people about. I talk to them about different things, right? Because I really want to see where their head is at because everybody's not in the same place. Some people don't even have any type of self awareness and they need that wake up call, right? And it doesn't benefit me in any way, but it does shift that person's life. And I feel good knowing that even if they don't take this advice, I know that I did my duty to tell them because it's not hard. So, especially when it comes to a network marketing business, that's one thing. You have to tell people what you do, right? You got to be confident about what it is that you're doing. You got to be happy about what it is that you're doing. And this is one of the greatest things to talk about, right? Without any pressure, because who doesn't want to get rich? Like, imagine asking somebody, if you knew there was an exact way to get rich, would you try? Most people would say yeah. Most people would say yeah, right? And it's really a great conversation starter. So that is really all I'm going to say about this topic today, guys. If you do have any final comments or thoughts, or you would like to speak, you can raise your hand, or you can just drop something in the chat, and I'll read it for everybody to see. Right? I'll give you guys about 60 seconds to do so. But I do appreciate y'all coming to the call because this is it's just some life altering information. And that's always been the thing that separated most people, right? Is they just don't know, right? They don't have the awareness. And the more you know, when they say if you knew better, you do better, that's a word. Like that's really a word. So everybody is the last thing, drop in the chat. I know better, right? I know better, right? So Spicy wants to talk. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring you to the stage, Miss Spicy. You should be able to speak and let me be quiet.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. This was an amazing call. I just love this series. I especially love this book because it's just so prevalent. Like the more you get into entrepreneurship and the more you get to know yourself, these topics literally will keep coming back up. So this is amazing. This call was great. It definitely just let me know that becoming rich and wealthy isn't some existential thing that no one can do. It's something that everyone has the ability to do if you decide to make that choice and if you're okay with it. So that's it for me. Thank you so much. I can't wait for next week.
Yes, opportunity monopolized is next week called. Thank you so much, Spicy. I love doing this series. I just love getting into deep topics and conversations with people. And this is the best way to do it because everybody not going to be there at your level. But if you could bring an interesting topic to the conversation, you could talk to a lot more people because they didn't even know that was something that they wanted to know. But talking about money is always a conversation starter. And that's for my big launchers in the chat, right? Talking about money is always a conversation starter. So, would anybody else like to add anything to the conversation? You want to add something else?
I thought it was a really good call. I like the call because it puts things in perspective, and also I just feel like this is the discipline that you have to have when it comes to your mindset when you're trying to become rich. This is what everyone's talking about. Every time someone talks about sacrifice, it's not the sacrifice of maybe missing a game with your family or maybe missing dinner. It's the sacrifice of the discipline of how you're going to think about money. This is it. This is the sacrifice that you have to be willing to commit to. And within that sacrifice, you must understand who you are and own up to your poop. Own up to who you are, like own up to your poop, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Own up to your poop. Own up to your poop. You heard the lady, but yeah, y'all. That's amazing. I love it. If you guys love this call, you love the energy, you love the topic of conversation, and you love the input, then you do not want to miss tonight's call at 8 o'clock p.m. We will be live with the Digital Dash, which we do every Wednesday at 8 p.m. It is hosted by myself and these two lovely ladies who just spoke. So if you want some more value and gems and you have the time of your day, if not, you should make the time of your day. Definitely come through because tonight we're going to be having an amazing conversation about join the Digital Dash chat or Telegram if you want to know, or make sure you're following the Cosmic Club on Instagram at the Cosmic Club for all updates with the Digital Dash, Money Mantra Off the Charts, and our morning personal development series, Mindset Reset. So that's my time for today, y'all. It's been real. Again, I will let you guys know about the playback, but for now, this is where we part, and I'll see you next week at 2 p.m. for Is Opportunity Monopolized? So go ahead and listen to that to get yourself prepared for the call, and I will see y'all there.